Kirby's Dream Land, starting off the Kirby franchise. Kirby's Dream Land, the first Kirby game ever made, all the way back on that gray brick back on the Game Boy. And oh boy, it's a pretty interesting Kirby game when you think about it, being the first one in the series, and how all the other Kirby games shaped it up to be part of this massive franchise. So we're going over the original start of the Pink Puffball's Awesome Adventures and see how we got to where he is now. Kirby Adventure, so yeah, pretty much. Basically, in short form, you don't have any copy ability. This was the first game on Game Boy. I guess they didn't think of that part yet, because, I mean, it's a Game Boy. We can only fit, like, maybe $5 worth of content on here, remember? That's basically the basics. Yeah, this game's pretty basic. It's pretty understandable. It's pretty easy. I mean, most Kirby games are pretty easy, but this one just gets difficulty just right. Not too hard, but not exactly easy, you know? It's a pretty good difficulty for people beginning their first Kirby game, essentially. It's basic, so you're not going to see anything too crazy like with a lot of the games nowadays, essentially. So, yeah, essentially. Every world, let's say like Mario or Sonic, has their own distinct level scenes, whether it's grass, water, or sky, essentially. I like that, essentially. You know, trying to be somewhat different, but still trying not to be too same to, like, everything else we've already been used to in, like, many other games where they just can't have a creative world. Essentially, the controls are basic. Like I said, it's Game Boy. You're not going to expect much, but they definitely control very well, essentially, with the whole jumping, sucking enemies, shooting them back at others, and essentially just being generally overall fun to play. So, unlike some other controlling games, game also has an auto shooting section. Remember, this will not be the first Kirby game where this is a thing, okay? It will not be the last. And yeah, it's pretty good and enjoyable, not too hard. Speaking of this, the bosses. The bosses are, like I said, pretty freaking simple. They all have a basic idea, but they're pretty fun to play. But once you understand the boss, how they attack them, it's pretty easy to actually go back and attack them right back. I mean, Wispy Woods, for crying out loud, is a boss that we see in so many Kirby games, I guess because of how basic it was, I assume. And yes, it's like Sonic Mania or Sonic 3, where there's a boss at the end of every level, essentially. Which I guess is pretty cool, honestly. I like it. The final boss is King Dedede. He's the king of the show, essentially. The wrestling ring is a WWE match. Just avoid his attacks with his hammer, him sucking you up, shoot the stars back at him, and damage him. It's pretty simple, one of the more longer bosses of the game, but I like that. It's different, and that's a pretty good thing. And before you know it, it's the credits. It's a pretty short Kirby game. It'll only take like half an hour, but if this is your first Kirby game, it's a pretty good place to start in the franchise. So yeah, that was, well, Kirby's Dream Land. For being the first Kirby game in the series, it's like a lot different from other Kirby games, mostly because of the fact that there's no copy abilities, and also just the sheer short length of it also makes it a pretty worthwhile game to always come back to, because of just like the length and being pretty simple and pretty fun to always come back to, essentially. And that's what we got for today. I'll see you all next time for more Yu-Gi-Oh!, Diantha, Pokemon, and video games. I'll see you all next time. See ya!